Hey everyone, it's me, Voduk. I need to show my real face here because this is serious. So ignore the hideous curtains behind me and anything else that might be distracting to you. Focus on me because this is important. I have a confession to make. I'm not funny. I'm just not. I'm not the kind of person who can just be in any situation and come up with funny things to say. Instead, I need time to brainstorm a joke. I have to think about it. I have to imagine people's reactions in my head to test whether or not it's going to work. And that's because I'd rather say no joke at all than make a bad joke. But at least I know that I'm not funny. This isn't funny. For context, I've been holding polls on my YouTube channel to see what people think about different things. Mostly, it's been choosing the better of two towers. Whenever the necromancer is on the poll, it beats everything. According to the community, the necromancer is better than the sorcerer tower. It's better than the mausoleum. It's better than boneflingers. It's better than the blazing gem. It's better than the dwarf. It's better than the ranger's hideout. Seriously, people really like the necromancer that much, and that's just the icing on the cake. Let's delve deeper into the bad takes iceberg in the Kingdom Rush community. First, there are people who think the Big Bertha is better than other artillery towers. This poll here shows it beating the Goblin War Zeppelin. I've also seen people argue that it outclasses the dwarf. I've even heard people say that it is better than the Tesla. If I had to hazard a guess, it would be that the people see the bigger explosions of the Big Bertha, the higher damage of its individual attacks, and presume that it is stronger just because it looks stronger. I feel like this is a pretty common assumption made in the community. Phoenix is another good example of this. A lot of people think Phoenix is the most overpowered hero ever, mostly because of that 5-second respawn time. On paper, it sounds like the hero is immortal because they respawn so quickly. But when you think about it, this is a flying hero. None of Phoenix's HP can even contribute to stalling enemies, so the 5-second respawn time isn't as broken as people make it out to be. There are obviously other merits to Phoenix, but giving each attribute of the hero the right amount of weight when assessing them is something that I think a lot of people in the community are not doing as accurately as they could. I know because it took me 16 months to wrap my head around the logic for each hero and then rank them all accordingly. Speaking of heroes, there is still a lot of misinformation in the community about some of them. For example, Prince Dinas' Avenger does not deal true damage. Thor doesn't have magic resistance. Rakesun does not have bad DPS, and it definitely is way better damage than Prince Dinas. Tramin is not stronger than Barasad. And finally, I physically cannot put Ice Cult higher than number 1 on a list. Finally, Bladesingers vs Forest Keepers is a debate that hurts my soul. Pollux the Wise made this video comparing the two towers by building only Bladesingers on the Ascent, and then building only Forest Keepers on the Ascent. It was a highly flawed test fundamentally, and on top of that, he made a lot of fallacies and other objective mistakes, both in the video and in the comments. I don't want to pick apart every detail bit by bit, but one thing I have to mention is that he treats it like the numbers speak for themselves. This is something that I have a lot of experience dealing with, because I try to do all the math for every hero in the series to compare them all. I wanted to get as close to objective as possible because I wanted to make sure the work I was putting in was amounting to something. But even then, it was discouraging along the way because I know that you can't be completely objective with this game. Sure, you can calculate DPS and EHP fairly easily, but how useful that EHP is throughout a level isn't something you can measure. Usefulness is abstract. Heroes and towers are more than the sum of their parts. How these things work in conjunction with each other and other heroes and towers is a qualitative measurement. What I'm trying to say is that even when you do the math, the conclusions you come to about these stats are still ultimately subjective. I admit that in my own videos. My playstyle isn't the only one being used here. I've talked to countless players to get their opinion on every hero in the series. I've watched hours of gameplay videos and tried to emulate the same things myself. I've made so many calculations for hero stats and abilities. This is a project that I have been working on since February of 2020. That's why there is no way that I let all of this hard work be dismissed as something as simple as just another person's opinion. Ultimately, everything I conclude from these facts is still just my own conclusion, and that is subjective for sure. But I've done everything I can to remove bias and anything not objective from these rankings. But to act like your takes are completely objective, including on topics like ranking other people's YouTube channels, is just silly. And that's what all of this is at the end of the day. It's just silly. I hope it's clear that me calling the community as a whole dumb is just me joking. I don't genuinely think everyone is dumb. I just like imagining people reacting to the sight of some video called "This Community is Dumb" showing up out of nowhere. Remember, if anything I ever say sounds wrong, too dumb to be true, racist, sexist, illegal, bigoted, evil, psychopathic, or otherwise problematic, I'm just joking. I still disagree with a lot of the things I've pointed out here, and I could make more videos discussing hot takes on the series, but I'm not going to ever bully anyone for this stuff. When it comes to opinions on towers, I think they are really subjective. As hard as these games can feel at times, they are actually still easy enough that you can get away with plenty of different strategies, and since multiple strategies can work, you'll end up getting away with building towers that might not be as numerically efficient as they could be. That's precisely why challenges are possible. So I don't see myself ever ranking every tower from worst to best. Instead, I prefer to mention the details about towers bit by bit, as I've been doing with Kingdom Rush Science. In truth, I actually really like this community. They have a great sense of humor and obviously excellent taste in games. In particular, I want to give a big shout out to MMLH. He has a lot of technical knowledge about the game that he spends a lot of time sharing on Discord. Kingdom Rush Science would not be possible without him, Sunny Daler, and Sigumo looking into the games, discovering and sharing this information. I'm just the messenger for this information. I wish they could enjoy the attention and positive feedback that I've gotten for what's in a big part their work. It's a new year. Appreciate everything around you, including the differences between other people, because there's a beauty to that too, even if it's frustrating at times. So, here's to 2022.